You're watching Your World at 10 now. A standoff is brewing between the HRD ministry and the faculties of the IIMs and IITs. IIT faculty will in fact go on a fast on the 24th of September, demanding a 100% hike in pay and more autonomy. The faculty fraternity is unhappy with the ministry's revised salary structure, saying that it falls short of what they have asked for. Assistant professors were entitled to a starting salary of 30,000 rupees a month with a rank-based increment or an academic grade pay actually of 8,000 rupees a month. This was under a contentious notification issued on August 18th, and this was for all assistant professors who have completed 3 years of work. Under a revised notification, assistant professors who have completed 3 years of work and thereon will jump to a starting salary of 37,400 rupees a month with an academic grade pay of 9,000 rupees a month is what we understand, and these numbers are not acceptable to the faculties of IIMs and IITs. So can professors in the best professional schools in the country be paid market salaries? Well, joining us to debate that are Professor Bakul Dholakia, he's former director at IIM Ahmedabad, and Professor Thannamohi of IIT Madras, president of the All India IIT Faculty Federation. Well, Professor Thannamohi, Professor Dholakia, thank you very much for joining us. Professor Thannamohi, I'll start with you. I know you all had a meeting today with question to this pay situation. Can you take us through what you all discussed in that meeting? What is it that you all are actually demanding? And if you've had any response from the HRD ministry whatsoever?
First of all, to correct you, we are not asking a 100% hike in pay.
Okay.
Basically, we are looking in terms of flexibility and autonomy in our system. We want to maintain the flexible cadre system that we have been having, so that there are no restrictions in or caps either at the assistant professor contract level or at the professor's level, moving from one level to the other.
Okay.
So basically, we don't want any caps or restrictions, limits being imposed on faculty moving from one level to the other, which is totally against the flexible cadre system in which IITs and IIMs have been functioning. So that's a major point of contention which we have been raising even before, and now again we are reinforcing that.
And what is the response of the HRD ministries, ma'am?
So we have emphasized this in earlier meetings in our presentations to MHRD, and again when we met Kapil Sibal also, we have emphasized this point. But we were quite surprised that in the amendment that came on 16th, they have not looked at this, and this is totally disappointing for us. When the notification itself says that IITs will all continue to follow the flexible cadre system, and again in the same notification they are again saying that there are going to be some limits. So long as their faculty performs and fulfills the highly prescribed performance criteria, I think it is they should be allowed to move on to the next cadre or to the next AGP. So particularly with respect to the professors level, we have about 200-250 professors in each IITs, and the notification says only 40% of the professors can move to a higher grade pay of 12,000 based on a performance evaluation. So we are only saying we are happy to we'll go through the performance evaluation, but we do not want to have any restriction of a limit of 40%. All those who fulfill the performance criteria, they should move on to the next AGP. That is our basic contention.
All right, this ties into the larger issue of autonomy, Professor Bakul Dholakia. You fought one big battle in your career when it comes to the autonomy of IIMs, but these are at the end of the day government-funded institutions. How much can we realistically expect in terms of autonomy to both remunerate faculty, appoint them, and school funding?
Well, I think that's a very valid point you have raised. But first of all, IIMs and IITs were funded by the government for 4 decades. And what is it that has happened now which has resulted in a change of mind? I mean, any facility or autonomy that these institutes have enjoyed over the last 3 decades cannot be withdrawn now. And if it has to be done, it should be on the basis of some evaluation or assessment. I mean, by all counts, IIMs and IITs have performed extremely well in terms of, and that is the reason why they are enjoying this reputation. So the flexible structure, no specific posts for specific positions, was the culture in which IIMs and IITs have operated. Now, it is not possible to then stipulate or legislate. I think it is a very dangerous thing to introduce practices in IIMs and IITs which have actually crippled the university system for such a long time.
But Professor Dholakia,
Professor
Dholakia, the pay has always been stipulated by the government, isn't it? These pay slabs are stipulated and have been stipulated by the government. So what has in a sense changed?
True. What has changed is that the IIM and IIT faculty were always given a notch higher than what the university corresponding faculty were getting. They were given a special status because we were recognized as national institutes of excellence and we were always treated differently. Now that differential is sought to be eliminated, and that is something which is not acceptable. You should remember that in the last 40 years, IIM and IIT faculty as groups have never come together on the same platform to agitate on an issue. So if this has not happened, this is the first time in 40 years that this is happening. There has to be a very solid substance in what these people are saying. And please remember that IIM and IIT faculty are the most respected faculty in the academic fraternity in this country.
All right, no denying that. Professor Tanimoi, I wanted to ask you the question on what was the gap between IIT, IIM faculty and the UGC pay slabs and so to speak, and how has that gap been closed?
Initially we found that some...
Professor Tanimoi.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I would like to say here that initially at some levels when you're mapping the scale of an IIT faculty with that of an UGC, we found that there is some 30% gap was there. And to fix up that only now in the revised modification they have come up, corrected that one. To say that after 3 years as service of assistant professor, one will move to 37,400 and the AGP of 9,000. So that anomaly they corrected it once we pointed out that. And so that is with respect to the assistant. In other levels, the difference is quite marginal. 2% to 10% is the difference.
So you're saying now that a professor who has worked or has taught for 3 years in an IIT or an IIM gets paid the same as a professor under the UGC or the universities?
A professor means we have 3 levels: assistant professor, associate professor, and a professor.
Right.
3 levels are there. With respect to the assistant professor with say some 3 years of experience, if you try to see, he will be drawing a scale of say 14,100. The scale in which he was fixed in the UGC is different from the scale that was given for IIT. So we pointed out that, and that was rectified through this amendment dated 15 September. And with respect to the other levels, associate professor or professor, we have been asking some equivalent grade pay for similar scales prevailing at other levels. But that has not yet been considered by the...
No, so is what you're demanding higher salaries than what the UGC professors get paid, sir?
Yeah, I think the press, you see, I think the focus of the press has been trying to put us higher salary. We're not looking in terms of higher salary. Okay. We're looking in terms of higher start for entry-level salary, particularly to attract young talent. Another thing is, in terms of scales, we are trying to look in terms of parity with other systems. When someone is in the same scale in another system, he is going to draw something higher. Why not give it for IIT? And with respect to IITs or IIMs, why don't you give some special pay to give some special recognition for the credibility of the institutions? So that is what we have been focusing on.
All right. So, Professor Dholakia, you know, we don't have the HRD ministry spokesperson here, but I understand that the line the ministry has been taking is that we would rather invest some of this money in starting or opening new IITs and IIMs. As someone who has run an IIM, what would you prefer? This money goes towards paying faculty better, or it goes towards opening up more IITs and more IIMs and therefore being able to educate more students across the country?
I think the very fact that you are looking upon this as a trade-off is a matter of concern. Let me tell you, when you want to open new IIMs and new IITs and you want to maintain the same quality and the same brand of these new IIMs and IITs as the older ones have, how can you do it without attracting quality faculty? Now, if the existing established IIMs and IITs are finding it difficult to attract sufficient number of high-quality faculty, how are you going to get it in the new IIMs and IITs? So you can create new IIMs and IITs only by diluting the brand. Now, is that what you want? And if that is what you do, then will it be sustainable? So therefore, pay structure under 6th Pay Commission is not an issue of next 1 or 2 years. It is an issue of next 20 years. It is an issue of making youngsters make career choices of teaching as a profession. Now, unless you make teaching as a profession attractive, people won't, good students will not opt for teaching. And the quality of faculty, you will find it very, very difficult to sustain. Let us understand that the full professors today are the ones who made the career choices 30, 40 years back. And at that time, teachers were a highly respected community. And relatively speaking, teachers were paid quite all right in relation to other segments of the society. Liberalization has opened up opportunities for all other sectors where the pay packages have gone up substantially. Teaching is the only profession where the pay revisions have been once in 10 years and have not been at the kind of rates and pays at which the market economy demands. Now, at the end of the day, you have to strike a balance. And previously, out of emotions and commitment, people made teaching career choices and they did not move out of it. Younger generation has different sets of preferences. They have grown up in a different way. So how many parents would want their children today to become teachers with the kind of treatment that is being meted out? So if you want to attract talent into IIMs and IITs, compensation package is one aspect, but dignity and honor is another aspect, and autonomy of these institutions is the third aspect. Now, unless you strike a balance in all these three, you would find it extremely difficult to sustain the new IIMs and IITs. It is not a matter of physical infrastructure. It is a matter of quality faculty.
Point well taken, Professor Dholakia. Last question to you, Professor Tanimoi, is what is your course of action now? Are you planning to approach the ministry again? I'm told there's likely to be a hunger fast on the 24th of September.
We have now giving a memorandum to the ministry asking for a meeting with them, so that this is going to be a working meeting where we discuss all the issues threadbare and then sort it out, and just not just giving a presentation of our requirements. And we also want to project that faculty members are quite unhappy with this type of response. Even after repeated requests and representations, most of our concerns have not been considered. So in that sense, the faculty members have decided that we'll have a hunger protest on 24th. Of course, none of our academic work is going to be affected. We'll do a hunger protest, but all our teaching and all academic activity will go on as usual, because we don't want any of the particular students to be affected whenever we're taking up these type of steps. But at least we want to express that our concerns have to be looked into. That's the main thing. See, basically we are fighting to save the IIT system. We want to sustain and maintain the IIT credibility. I think there's something which, there are certain other issues which MHRD should look into apart from what they have looked into in terms of this notification. We wanted to try to emphasize that.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much, and all the best with your struggle. It will surely be a sad day if you do have to go on a hunger protest on the 24th of September. These are the two shining educational institutions in our country. Professor Bakul Dholakia and Professor Tanimoi, thank you very much for joining us on Your World at 10. With that, we need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll come back with all the national and political news headlines at this hour.